So I may have hit the button a little early. My clock still says 8:29, but I hate being late. I should show you this. Okay. I'm going to start. I had a request for a tutorial on how I made my Sontag shawl for Capetember a couple of years ago. So here I am. But I don't like doing the same thing over and over and over again. So instead of recreating this shawl, I am actually going to make, because that would also take way too long to do in one live stream, a cute little bandana, little cottagecore bandana, but using the pattern of the Sontag. Okay, I have with me, of course, I need the Sontag because this is basically my pattern. I have a 6.5 millimeter crochet hook. I also have darning needle. And of course, a pair of scissors. My yarn for this, I actually have two partial skeins. It is the same type of yarn, even though the colors are different. I'm going to start with the one that I have more of. And then if I need it, I can do the darker as edging trim, that kind of thing. Okay, there's my end. Okay, how to do this. So this was worked in rows. I started in the middle here. So this is the part that goes right on the back. Oh, okay. And this was 2 years ago that I made this. And I didn't follow a pattern. I just kind of made it up as I went along. So I am going to have to read the crochet that I had created 2 years ago. All right. I can tell I definitely did multiple chains in the center to create this start of this shawl. So I have my yarn. I'm going to do a slip knot. And since I'm only doing 2 clusters in it, I am going to do, actually my center looks pretty big. I'm going to do 4. That's plenty. 1, 2, 3, 4 chains. And now slip stitch into the first chain. So poke into the chain, pick up, pull through everything. And that creates a little circle. And that is my middle circle. Running down the center of the Sontag is a row here where there are extra spaces that creates a bit more of a noticeable gap in the lace. Okay, so I'm just pulling my stitches apart. It looks as though I have at least 3 chains there. I'm going to say probably 3. Okay. The fun part, doing the rows. I have chains coming up here, and then it goes into a couple of double crochets. So there is space at the beginning of each row where there are chain spaces. Okay. So logic here. I have at least 2. I'm going to say almost 4 maybe. That's big. Okay, we're going to try 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 chains. And now I'm going to do 2 double crochets. And I think we said 3. chains in between the 2, 2, 3, 2 double crochets, referring back to what I did previously, and then it's going to be chains. How do I make that work? Okay, 1, 2, 2, and then a double crochet. I gotcha. Okay, there we go. That is a very small and weird looking triangle, but it is a triangle. When I deal with the center, just kind of, that will flatten out a bit. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Again, the joys of not having a pattern. Okay, so I go up there, and it's 2 into that. Okay. So 1, 2, 2. Yeah, because it's just representing, I think. No, I do definitely have a space. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Flip the work, and in the space created right along the edge of the shawl, I am going to do V-stitch. So 2 double crochets. Oh, ah! Oh, that was a mess. You know we're live, unscripted mayhem. Oh, okay. I have a bit of a knot in my yarn. I don't care. I'm going to keep going. It looks like I only put a couple in there. Okay. Then it is. You know what? I'm going to lay this down. Maybe I'll be able to see better. What am I doing? Okay. There's that row. I'm on this one. Yes, that goes into the same. Okay. So there is my initial chains, 2 double crochets, 2 chains, 2 double crochets into that same space. Now I am going to do a double crochet. No, now I'm going to do my center one. Okay. No chain spaces, no spaces. Okay. Now I'm doing the center. So 2 double crochets, chain 4. 2, 3. No, we said 3. And 2 more double crochets in the same space. So this is my center. I have another knot. Oh. Thought I saw you. Okay. And then at the beginning, there's a little gap created by the chains. That's where I'm going to do my next cluster. I'm just going to call them clusters. I think I was thinking about V-stitches when I made this, but okay. So this row. Oh, I need to do my little finish doodle. 1, 2 chains and a double crochet. So you can see it's starting to take shape. So again, okay, technically speaking, the center is row 1 or round 1, row 1. Then we have the second row, and I just completed the third row. So again, it was 3 or 4 chains, 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. Into the next spot, 2 double crochets, chain 3, 2 double crochets. 2 double crochets into my next hole, chain 2, 2 double crochets, chain 2, double crochet to kind of finish the edge. Okay. Now I'm going to chain 4. 3, 3, 4. 2 are for the double crochet, 2 to go across. Yes. Okay. 1, 2. There we go. Okay. Flip the work in this first space. Same as the last round, double crochet, 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. Now, as I recall, okay, for whatever reason, I somehow am not doing, bye-bye yarn. It just fell off the table. This is harder than you think. I mean, it's been 2 years since I made this thing. Okay, row 1, 2, 3 should be completed. I have a thing to do there. Uh-oh. 1, 2, 3. No, I'm good. 4. Okay. Now where is that though? Because I did that thingy, then I did that thingy. I did that thingy, and I did that thingy. Where's that thingy? Okay, what I'm wondering about is I have a lone little double crochet here in between my stitches, and I'm trying to figure out where I did that. I've ever tried to watch somebody try to figure out a pattern. Oh, this is hurting my brain. It has been a ridiculous day. So the toddler broke her arm on Tuesday, and now she has swelling. So we had to go back to the hospital today, and they're like, thank you for coming in. Yes, but the swelling is okay. So my brain cells are definitely a little distracted. Okay, it's supposed to be there. But then what's that? Because I have a cluster here. It makes sense. You know what? Trust your instincts, Carrie. Okay. Do V-stitches in the V-stitches or clusters in the cluster. Okay, my yarn is tangled again. I mean, this is very nice, fluffy yarn. It is beautiful and soft, but because it is fuzzy, it tangles with itself. Okay, here we go. So I have, no, that's not right, because it should be straighter. Do I only do one there? No, don't make me rip out. This is not pleasant yarn to try to rip out. When I made this thing, I must have undid my work and did I hide something different, undid my work, tried something different like a dozen times. I keep having two clusters there. So why is this a different shape? I'm just going to keep going. All right. Now, in between the center and this cluster here, I had one double crochet. Because it is getting bigger, like expanding, I put in something to be able to go into on the next round. It'll make sense when I get to the next round. Okay. Same thing. I need to do one double crochet in between here. Yeah, my yarn's on the floor. And then cluster in a cluster. One, two. I had to do a lot of this as well when I made the shawl, because I kept forgetting that in the center I wanted 3 chains, not just 2. Okay, there we go. Now I can do the one double crochet, the one lone double crochet. I wonder if the shape is just because of the different yarn, but no, I mean, that's not the shape of my sun tag. Okay, give me a moment here. There is my center. That's first cluster. I have 2 there and 2 there. Goes up. And then 2 there. Going into, I see my mistake. Okay, more frogging. Maybe. Oh. Yeah, this yarn is not pleasant to undo. Okay. And I probably made this exact same mistake 2 years ago. Okay, here we are. So I have my center round. Then I have the first row, which is mostly establishing the center. And then my next round, I have the chains, 1 cluster, the center cluster, and then 1 more cluster. Okay. So instead of doing clusters in the first holes along the way, don't go in there. That is the edge. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to go into the actual first cluster. That's what it was. And this is what it's like to kind of fumble your way through trying to create something. And you have no pattern. Okay, here we go. Now I do the single crochet. No, the 1 double crochet in between the 2 clusters. That will give me a base to put in another cluster next round so that this can keep expanding nicely instead of becoming a cone shape. 1, 2, 3. I remembered this time. Okay, 2 double crochets. 1 double crochet into, oh, itchy nose, the space between the 2 clusters, and now a cluster in the cluster. 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, 1, 2 chains, and then double crochet into that space. This looks more like it. Ah! Okay. Thank you very much to the people that are actually sticking around and paying attention to the mayhem as I try to figure this out. More knots. I told you, this is super fluffy and fuzzy, and it gets knotted. My mother always told me, never cut your yarn. It is a sign of weakness. Okay. The next row. So we are now over here, and it is just clusters. In the clusters, except where we had the double crochet, all but the lonely double crochet. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4 chains. Flip the work. So I'm not going into that space. I'm going into the cluster. 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 more double crochets in that same space. Now you can see there is a single crochet all by itself. I'm going to go into the top of that stitch and do another cluster. So this is how I increased on this so that it would lay flat instead of curling up like a cone. Because if you don't increase somehow as you go around, you get very weird shapes. Okay, here I am at the center now. 2 double crochets, chain 3. 1, 2, 3. 2 double crochets in the same space. Same thing. I'm now going to put my next cluster into the single. I keep wanting to say single crochet because there's only one. The double crochet that I did in the previous round. 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. Okay. And into the next cluster with a cluster. Double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. Okay. And now I am at, that did something weird over there. So chain 2, time to create the side. I'm going to go into this nice big loop that I created earlier from the last round and double crochet. So again, this round started out chain 4. There's 1 cluster in the previous cluster. Cluster put into the I did it again. Trying to call it a single crochet. The one lonely double crochet there, the center is the same as what I've always been doing. 2 double crochets, chain 3, 2 double crochets. Cluster into the stitch of the 1 double crochet. Okay. And then cluster in a cluster, chain 2, double crochet into the side. Okay, so we have something that is a scalloped triangle. That's what the shawl basically is when you look at it. Okay, I mean, it's giant, it's hard to see, but it does have that ripply wave going on. And all I did was, when I felt I needed to do an increase, I would simply put in a double crochet near the center between 2 of the clusters. And that would give me another place to put a cluster. And I just kept going, kind of eyeballing it. Is this flat? Maybe, sort of, kind of, until I had something that I liked. It was easy to change colors because I bought my yarn at a thrift store and didn't have enough. When it came to the ends, though, I needed something thinner because I didn't want it to just be like a triangle. I can't do a triangle. A straight triangle because it doesn't wrap around well like a sewn peg. Sewn peg has very long ends on it so that it can wrap around you. Okay, so there is my center. Whoops. Center. Keep going, keep going. And there is my end finally. From about here, I added length by doing some chains. There's the chains. So that it would curve around. Like when this lays on the ground, there is a definite curve. If you go and watch the original video for Capetember, you can really see that because I laid it on the ground. And then there's a little extra, again, bunch of chains to do that. But for this project, I'm going to show you another way to create ties. And you can do that for a sewn peg as well. I have seen some historic accident garments or ye olde knitting and crochet patterns that do something very similar. Okay, but this is not big enough for a scarf yet. So let's keep going. Chain 2, 3, 4. Flip the work, go into the cluster space. 2 double crochets, chain 2. 2 double crochets. Move on to my next space where the chains are. 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. Ah! Oh, this is going to be a pain in the posterior. Oh, come on. Be nice knot. Maybe. Okay, made it. Okay, now we are at the center. And you can kind of see how it wants to curve. That is a good indication that I need to do an increase to help it lay flat. I mean, for a bandana, it doesn't matter as much, but you guys asked for the shawl pattern, so I'm going to show you on the next round an increase. Okay, the center, 2 double crochets, 1, 2, 3 chains, 2 double crochets in that same space in the center. Now into the next chain space, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, chain 2, and the last 2 double crochets. Into the next chain space, 2 double crochets, chain 2. It really is. It's a very repetitive, simple pattern. 1, 2 chains, because now I'm coming to the end of my row. I'm going to go into the space there. Double crochet. So yes, I definitely have a curve going on. So I need to do an increase on this next row. So 1, 2, 3, 4 chains, flip the work. I'm going to go into my next chain space. So not the ones at the end of the row, but the actual cluster. 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. Okay. I think, you know what, I'm going to put the increase in now. Okay. So in between these 2 clusters, there is a bit of a space. There's no actual stitch, but there is a space going from one stitch, like one cluster to the next. I'm going to put a double crochet in that hole. Okay. Now I can go on to the next cluster and do my cluster. And I've crocheted some of my own hair in. Good times. Okay. My next space is the center. 2 double crochets. Chain 1, 2, 3. And you can adapt this. If you want it less lacy and more solid, don't do as many chains in between, or don't do any chains in between. If you want it very lacy, doing just chains and 1 double crochet is probably going to look more like a fishnet, but that can still look really nice. Okay, chain 2. Okay, time for my increase. And make sure you put the increases at the same space, bilaterally on both sides, so that it is balanced and even as the pattern expands. Okay, so here I am going to go into this space between the 2 clusters. And how often you need to increase may depend upon your yarn, your tension, the size of your crochet hook. A lot of different variables. Okay, there's my row. And there definitely is a lot of zhuzhing when I made this to have it lay reasonably flat. 2, 3, 4 chains to start the row. Flip the work. Going to go into the first cluster. 2 double crochets, chain 2. Now, on the previous row, this is where I put in that double crochet. I'm going to put a cluster into the top of that double crochet. So 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets. And then I carry on with the rest of the pattern, making sure that I do the next increase as well. Oops. I accidentally did a half double crochet. And I am at the center. 2 double crochets. Chain 1, 2, 3. And 2 more in the center. Okay. 2 double crochets, chain 2. 2 double crochets. Where am I at? Yes, here is my increase. So in the top of that one lonely double crochet, I am putting a cluster. Oh, I'm going to have to count and see how many times I actually make that mistake. Oh my gosh. Okay, 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets into the top of that stitch. And when I'm done this row, I am going to basically try it on for size. 1, 2. Okay. To finish my row, I'm going to do 2 chains and a double crochet. Okay. So this is still pretty small, and I have a pretty good curve to the one edge. But again, I definitely stretched things out when I made my shawl. So this yarn and this hook size, I would probably do a lot more increases, but okay, where's my center? There's my center. I definitely need to do a few more rows. Okay. And I think I'm going to put in increases basically every row and see how that works for me. 1, 2, 3, 4 chains, flip into the first cluster. And I'm going to put my double crochet in now. So again, I'm going between the two clusters. And then doing a cluster. Just two. We're not in the center, Carrie. Keep track of things. And this is part of why I have to do so much frogging. You may wonder, why do we call it frogging? Because you have to rip it, 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 rip it out. And then redo it. And depending upon your yarn, it can sound really nice when you pull it out. This fluffy stuff does not make a wonderful sound when you have to frog. It's too fluffy and it gets tangled, so you can't get into a really good rhythm. Ooh, I need to remember where I put my increase. So it was right before the last one. Okay. I see people coming and going. Hi, welcome. My name's Carrie. I cosplay crochet and enjoy history bounding, and I am making a cute little cottagecore bandana thing using roughly the pattern from the Sontag shawl that I made a couple of years ago for Capetember. It was a project that Shannon Makes did. So the first year she did it more as a sew along. Ooh, time for my increase. There is my double crochet in between the two clusters, and now I can carry on. But 2 years ago, she opened it up and just kind of like, hey people, let's make capes. Show me what you got. And it's like there's a Facebook group that people were posting progress pictures, patterns, the finished product, so many beautiful things. And so I made a shawl. I don't know if she did it last year as well. My life, kind of busy with a baby. She's now a toddler. Yeah. I have a weird looking triangle. But it is a triangle. And we're going to keep going. If you don't like the look and shape of what you have, just take it out and redo it until you figure out, with the yarn you have, the hook size you have, and your own tension, what works for you. But yeah, I think this yarn doesn't have the same stretch as the other one did. I think I'm going to put a couple of increases in this round. Okay. So there is my increase. Okay. Oh, somebody from the garden club texted, I will look at you later, phone. Okay, so there's my increase. I put in a cluster in the top of the stitch of the double crochet from the previous round. And because this is a weird shape, I'm going to do another increase. Yeah, I'm going to put one in here. So in between these two clusters, I am going to put a double crochet. And then cluster into the next one. Oh, there's my center. So 2 double crochets. 1, 2, 3 chains this time. Okay, and where did I do? So 1, okay, here's my center. I have 1 cluster and then my increase. So 1 cluster. Remember, things should be bilaterally even. And now the double crochet in between the 2 clusters onto the next cluster. There is the double crochet. I almost called it a single crochet again. Oh my gosh. Double crochet from the previous round that I'm going to put a cluster in. Apparently, trying to crochet at night after taking care of the toddler and taking her to the hospital. Well, like, we called urgent care first, and I kind of explained, like, this is the situation, this is what I'm observing, and they're like, go to the ER. I'm like, okay. So we did. And they're like, yes, this is what you're going to do. I'm like, thank you. Chain 2, and then double crochet into my great big space. Okay. This is my triangle. Yeah, I definitely did a lot more increases when I did the shawl. But let's see how this is looking. There's my center. You know what? For a bandana, that's not a bad shape. I think I will do a couple more rounds and then show you how I did the lace, like the little scallops at the bottom. And then we need to put ties on so you can actually tie it back. Okay. Get my hook in the loop again. 1, 2, 3, 4 chains. Flip the work. Cluster in the cluster. And I'm still going to do an increase on this round, even though we're getting near the end. I mean, we've been live for 43 minutes. Let's keep moving here. Ba-ba-da. Cluster in the cluster. That is 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets in the same place. Ooh, I see more people have shown up. Hello. Welcome to me trying to figure out a pattern that I did 2 years ago to adapt a shawl into a headband. Okay. There is the double crochet all by itself that I'm now going to put a cluster into. There's a reason why a lot of crocheters don't do live streams. And of course, this is an expanding pattern. So every row takes longer and longer to do. Ooh, I'm at the middle. 1, 2, 3 chains, and then another 2 double crochets. And then it's just pattern matching. Cluster into cluster. Oh, here I am at my next increase. So that is the double crochet that I am going to put a cluster in the top of that stitch. 1, 2. There's a lot of counting to 2. with this pattern. 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, 2 double crochets, chain 2. Well, you were noisy, whatever you were. I don't know if you heard that. Okay, we're almost at the end of this row. I don't think I have another increase. Yeah, I only did the one increase. Okay, so again, into the chain spaces. 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. Okay, 1, 2 chains, and then a double crochet. Yep, there's my center. Like, I think it is a really good shape for a bandana. I do want it to go longer. So bear with me, folks, as I put a couple more rows on this bandana. So start of the row is chain 4, flip the work, and then I'm doing clusters into my clusters. My clusters are 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets into the same stitch. And we are going to do an increase because it's a bit of an odd shape. So in between these 2 clusters, I am putting 1 double crochet. And then I'll be able to put another cluster in that on the next row. Yeah, I used this yarn for making Easter eggs. And I had them for sale both at the store that I rent space at, and I did my first craft show. And it was very, very, very slow craft show. There weren't a lot of people there. Well, the weather was pretty nice. That might have been a big part of the problem. So people are like, we want to be outside instead of going to a craft show. But my Easter eggs were the only thing that sold. And you think, fuzzy Easter eggs, what madness. But when they were made into Easter eggs, it actually didn't look super fuzzy like the yarn actually is. They looked good. Next Easter, I will try to remember to show you guys how I made that. So where are we? One more cluster before the middle. And one of the things I really liked about this pattern that I came up with for the shawl was that, yes, it did have a nice curve instead of being super pointy, which meant that it's not excessively long at the back. I mean, it goes all the way down to my back and like covers it, but it doesn't go down to like my knees. Okay, we're at the center. So 2 double crochets, chain 3 this time, and then 2 double crochets. Did I do my increase? Did I have an increase? Did I miss an increase? These are all excellent questions. Looking at this row. Did I not do an increase? Madness, Carrie. Madness. I did not put an increase in my previous row. Oh well. Then it's really simple, this row. I'm just doing, oh no, because I have one on the other side. So I do need to put in that double crochet all by itself so that the next row I can increase. And where did I put that in? Near the end. Okay. And I do appreciate the request for a tutorial step by step. How did I make this thing? And I know this is turning out a little differently than the Sontag did, that shawl, but in many ways, this is exactly how it was 2 years ago when I was making that. There was a lot of trial and error trying to figure out how to get the right shape that I wanted. Okay, so I am finishing up this cluster, and then I will put in the double crochet between these two clusters. That way I can put in an extra cluster the next round. One, two, chains, and then doing the double crochet into the chains from the previous row. That is the edge of the shawl. Well, bandana this time. Where's the center? There you are. A little longer. Okay, I'll do one more row and then do the edging and the ties. So on this one, I will not be doing an increase. Like, I won't be putting in the double crochet to be able to give the next row the increase. Okay, because here is that double crochet where I am going to add in a cluster. My cluster is 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets in the same space. All of the clusters that I've done in previous rounds are going to have clusters in them. Oh, I have a cute little emoji. Hi, Jazz. Okay. I do like this variegated. It has a very soft transition. So I have the pale one, and then I have the brighter colors that I was doing for Easter eggs. And I will show you the wrapper. Like, if you find this yarn and you don't mind working with slightly fuzzy yarn, the variation of color is amazing. If you do not like fuzzy yarn, this is not the yarn for you. It is definitely much harder to work with. Okay, and I am at the center. So I have to add in an extra chain space. It just helps give the center a little bit more definition. So 1, 2, 3 chains this time. And then I can do the other half of my cluster. We're almost there, folks. Almost there. This is the last row of regular stitches, and then I will do the scallops. I will also, oh, wait, counting. Carrie, come on. You just put in 3 double crochets. Ew. I will also show you what I've been doing for edging on the other bandanas that I've been making. Okay, lots of double crochets. I know some people don't like highly repetitive patterns, but I do. I find it very relaxing. Now, okay, the granny square is my favorite pattern. It is so brainless that I just love to fly through it. You have nice big spaces to go into to do your clusters. But I love that repetitiveness. There's nothing like it for me at the end of a busy, hectic, crazy day to just pick up a crochet hook and just let it flow. Okay, there is the double crochet. This is my increase. I'm going to put in another cluster here where there wasn't one the previous rows. Okay, and one last cluster. Then we get to do the edging and ties. 1, 2, and then double crochet into the edge. And again, we're going to do a quick little check here. Yeah, I think that is a fairly reasonable bandana size. Some of the ones I do definitely have longer tails and definitely pointier. This is a much more rounded triangle, but that's what I was aiming for when I made the shawl. The edging on this shawl is a very, very simple scallop. Okay, so there are 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets in 1 chain space, and then a single crochet to connect it at the bottom, and it just all the way around the base is that pattern, and it gives it a really nice scallop, especially with the repetitiveness of this pattern, that it just goes all the way to the end and you have that same scallop. I really like how this one ended up, and it goes all the way to the very end. Basically, I added just a little extra, which was just a bunch of chains and then clusters of 3 to, oh no, I do have the beads in there. Okay, just to give it a little bit of extra length to tie it. So let's get this bandana. Now, we're going to do something a little different than what I did with this. When I make bandanas, I only have 2 ends. So I do this as a continuous piece. Okay. So at the end here, I am going to do 40. Yeah, you heard me right. 40 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And again, 20 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Ooh, yeah, with this yarn and hook, that's long. Okay. Now, on the way back down this long string of chains, I'm going to do single crochets into each stitch. This is definitely the piddliest part of doing these bandanas. It is slow, annoying, but I like the fact that when I do this, I only end up with 2 ends that I need to sew in. So you have the center of the bandana, and then you have the very end, which I like because sewing in ends is also tedious and boring. Okay, this fluffy yarn is so hard to see the individual chain stitches. It just all kind of bleeds together. Oh, I wish I had dug out my glasses. That might have helped. I'm getting old, folks. I need glasses. I have them. I only wear them sometimes. You know, when I have problems seeing. Oh, I know this is riveting video, isn't it? There are a lot of blanket patterns that start out with, you know, do this many chains, and then you're going to start your pattern and go back and forth in rows. I don't like that kind of a start because it is very slow and very tedious. It's part of why I like granny squares. You start in the center and then you expand. So it moves very quickly, whereas trying to go into a long chain of chains is not easy, and it is not fun. Okay, am I getting there? I don't think I'm even halfway there. Great. Okay. Ooh, I have a color change happening. You know, it's very dull crocheting when you're excited about the variation in your yarn. Come on, where are you? There we go. Yeah, the fuzz with this, it just blends together. Let me show you. Like, can you see the stitches? They're really hard to see. But we're almost there, folks. Maybe 7 or 8 more. Come on, try not to split the yarn. Splitting the yarn is when you end up with, like, yeah, you go in through the yarn and split it. It's not good. I mean, for this, it doesn't matter because you're not going to notice. Oh, I made it. Okay. So now it is very, very, very simple. I do clusters in the clusters, and then in between the clusters, I anchor it down. It helps make the scallops more pronounced. So I'm just going to go right from here. Actually, I'm going to anchor that. I'm going to do a single crochet right into that space there. And now I can do my cluster. So it is 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. And now I'm going to anchor into that space in between them. So it just ties it down a little neater and makes the scallop more pronounced instead of just kind of floating there. And single crochet in between. 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, and single crochet to anchor it. I don't know where I came up with the terminology of anchoring it. It just is. Okay, and then in the middle. Sometimes if you want a really, really pronounced difference between the scallops, you can do slip stitches. And that will make that transition from the bump to where it's not even more pronounced, and will give you even more definition on your scallops. Single crochet between the clusters. Okay, I haven't quite made it to the center. I haven't missed it. 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. In between the cluster, I'm going to anchor with a single crochet. And now we are at the center. And just like before, I'm going to make this one, this scallop, this cluster a little bigger. So I have my 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2, 3. 2 more double crochets, single crochet between the clusters, and I carry on. almost done. Then I can have a snack. Go to bed. Shower, go to bed. I know some people don't like to shower at night, but I do. I like to be clean crawling into bed. Okay, this is what the scallops look like so far. And we're almost done. 2 double crochets. Chain 2. 2 double crochets. And then single crochet between clusters. Oh, I can see the end. The end is nigh. And when I get this finished, I will talk a little bit more about how I made the shawl now that I've done this experiment and realized, ooh, yeah, okay. I remember a bit better now how I made that shawl. This is my last cluster. So I have finished, whoop, 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 there we go. The 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. I'm going to do my single crochet into that space there. Okay. And again, time for the epic. I should actually count 40. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11. Come on. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Just 20 more. We have a thing developing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay. And same thing as the other side. You would do single crochets into each chain. I am not going to torture you by doing that now. Okay. You saw how I did the other side. It's the same thing. It's just a single crochet into each chain. And this is the shape that I ended up with. It is definitely different than my Sontag. Okay. I will admit my Sontag has a straighter edge. And in many ways, it has the opposite curve going on. It curves this way. Okay. Part of this is definitely the yarn. Okay. The amount of stretch that the 2 different yarns have is different, and that affects the shape. But I am pretty sure along the edge, I had more chains here than I did on this bandana. So these spaces here, yeah, there's something wonky going on, because on the Sontag, when I kind of pull it straight, these spaces kind of disappear. Like they're still there. Like there is definitely spaces there. Those are chains, but they disappear when I pull it straight. This one does not. Those spaces are still very evident. Part of that is the stretch of the material, and part of that was I did a different pattern. I'm sorry. That's just the way it worked out. Okay. The other thing that I'm pretty sure I did differently is I'm pretty sure I put in a lot more increases as I went along. With the bandana, I only put in 1 increase on the rows as I went out. This one, I'm pretty sure I had multiple increases per row. Like it's epic. Like there has to be. I can't see them because it's so big. Okay. Oh, the material, the yarn. This is Lion Brand Scarfy Light. Okay, this is the colorful one, but it is the same thing. It is 43% acrylic, 41% polyester, 9% nylon, and 7% wool. It is machine washable, but lay flat to dry. Whereas the sun tag, I'm pretty sure, is all acrylic. Again, I bought the yarn at a thrift store. I don't know for sure what the fiber content is. I am just kind of going my best guess. Okay. The bandanas. I had a bandana here. What happened? Oh, there it is. Oh, come back here, you. Oh, that's right. My yarn fell on the floor. Okay. So the bandanas that I have been making to sell are a little different than this pattern that I just made. Okay. Yeah, hello. It's basically the granny square. You know, it's half of a granny square. That's me, of course. For the edge on this one, what I did instead of big scallops, I did itty bitty. They're just chains. So it's 3 chains and then single crochet. And it creates this nice little ruffle. And I do the single crochet like into each stitch, or almost every stitch. Sometimes it's like, I can't see that one. I'm just going to go there. Yeah. So that's how this one looks. And then the one that I just did tonight, we'll try to tuck the end out of the way so you don't see that. Whoop. I mean, not a good color for my hair, but for somebody with darker hair, this would look very nice. And I'm not centered anymore. There we go. And in this case, the curve that is going on is not a detriment at all. It kind of works because our heads are round. And then it just ties underneath with the little string doodle ties. Yeah, this material, the ties bunch up a lot. But they seem to stretch out. Yay! If you have any questions about how I made either the bandana tonight or my sun tag, please just let me know in the comments. I know it's not perfect reproduction of my sun tag, but I do a lot of crocheting just kind of on the fly, experimental. That's usually what I call it, experimental crochet. I just kind of try something and see if I like it. And then sometimes I have to undo it and do it again. But that's that. Yeah. I think that's kind of it for tonight. Thank you very much for joining me on this adventure. I think if you didn't have, trying to film and explain about the pattern, you could make one of these in an hour. So this does kind of work as a 1 hour make. There's my crazy curvy one. Again, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this. Until next time, have fun, be creative, and take care.